Hey, welcome to Black Lab Garage. It's time. Let's see what happens. You can watch me put this 390 in and crank it. Will it run? Will it wipe a cam out? Let's see what happens. You ready? Come on, let's get into it. Get you a sail driver, flip backwards, and your weapon of mass construction. Next thing, put your dust shield on. I see people all the time try to run without them and try to use washers and space the starter out. Just put the dust shield on it. I mean, it makes it so much simpler. And Ford got it right. It ain't like a Chevrolet where you got to shim the starter up and down and try to get it to work. Put the dust shield on there, bolt starter on, done. Simple. But make sure you put that on before you put the flywheel on, or you'll be cussing. Not that I've ever done that recently, anyway. Now let's put the flywheel on it, which these will be spaced to where it only goes one way. The trick is finding which way it is, because I have put them on there and had all the bolts started except for one last one that wouldn't go, and then have to take it all loose and start over again. It wasn't on the FE, but that was on 302. Alright. Nope, that ain't it. Oh shit, that hurt. Oh. Okay, we got it. Finally. On the 374th try, I got it. Yeah, I like to take a little blue Loctite. Yeah, because, I mean, red works. You know, I might want to take it back loose sometime fairly easily. Or if you don't want to use Loctite, just cross thread it. It won't come out that way either. I'm kidding, please don't do that. This is a new flywheel, it's on here. The previous owners, when they put a clutch and stuff in it, they went ahead and had them put a new flywheel on it. But when I had my block and stuff at the machine shop, I went ahead and had the flywheel surfaced. Even though it looked fine, I didn't see any problems with it, but just to be safe, I went ahead and had it turned. I mean, better safe than sorry, you know. I was as sure as I didn't have it turned, when I put it on or put it back together, it'd probably start chattering and jumping. I can't stand that. I drove a truck like that one time, belonged to a friend of mine. Had an old 360 or 390 in it, like a 68 model Ford. I'm not kidding. You let the clutch out on it, it'd scare the hell out of you. It rattled your sphincter, it jarred you so hard. And I'm really not exaggerating on that, it was that bad. Now let's go around and torque them. Spec says 75 to 85, so Now, that won't turn now. I stuck a 2x4 underneath the flywheel. There we go, torqued. Alright, I put a little grease up in the pilot bushing there, which I don't use regular grease, I use silicone grease, brake grease. Now, flex plates. The friction disc. You got a flywheel side, pressure plate side. Now let's talk about the pressure plate bolts. These are not a standard bolt. You can see it's a really short bolt, but you see how much of a shank it has on it. That is to help center this pressure plate in the flywheel. That shank actually goes into the flywheel and centers. So do not use a regular bolt when you put this together, or you're going to have problems. You can get these bolts from Ford, or I know ARP makes replacements. I am putting new lock washers on them though, and some more Loctite. Now go around and turn them evenly. Don't do one, tighten one side down, then go to the other side. Don't do that. Go around, turn each one just a little bit until you get them all snug down. Now right here's a little gray area. I'm not going to tell you what to torque these pressure plate bolts at, because when you look it up online, all I'm going to say is it says 35 pound-feet. Or 35 foot-pounds, however you want to say it. That's on a little 5/16 bolt, and these are not grade 8 bolts, not from Ford. The ARPs may be, but now the factory Ford bolts are not grade 8. All I'm going to say is use your own judgment and look up a bolt torque specifications chart and see what it tells you for a 5/16 bolt. Because I don't want to be responsible for somebody listening to me and then snapping their pressure plate bolts. All I'm going, mine I'm torquing to 25. Sorry, got choked up there. But you do what you think's best. The old throwout bearing off, which, like I said, they put a new clutch in this truck right before I got it. But while I've got it apart, I'm going to replace it. And I got an old Borg Warner throwout bearing. But let me show you something. Look at the difference in the size of the actual bearing face. That surprised me. That one's quite a bit bigger. But that's good. I mean, that's what we want. But that's why I always try to get, new old stock parts or something. Because, well, I mean, the quality's better. Now we've got our silicone brake grease here. And we're going to grease the input shaft. I mean, don't put a whole lot on it because you don't want it to sling out on your clutch, but you want some on, because it amazes me at people that put clutches and stuff in but they never grease anything, and then they wonder why the clutch is kind of stiff. Well, duh, it ain't got nothing to slide on. Grease the retainer. That way the throwout bearing can slide back and forth pretty easy. Which actually, that Borg Warner one, it came greased. Alright, I put a floor jack under it, raised the motor up, or raised the transmission and bell housing up as far as I could. And over here, I took two 7/16 bolts. I think these are 3.5 inches long, 3 or 3.5. Anyway, trim the head down, and then I put a slot in it. We're going to use those as studs to guide it into the bell housing. I put the slots in it, that way if it gets kind of tight and you can't just back it out with your fingers, well, you can put a screwdriver in there and back them out. That's why I've done that. So now let's get this motor in the air. Okay, you can see what I've done here. I've got this, it ain't a turnbuckle. It's a swivel lever for it. Anyway, I've got that on here. This is what I'm actually going to be picking it up by. This is just a safety chain to hold it while I'm carrying it over to the truck. But this is what we're actually going to be lifting it and setting it in by. And then I put grade 8 bolts up here, that way the chain can't slip off either. Well, looky there. It's in. And honestly, that was probably one of the easiest motors I've ever dropped in. So now it's just crawling underneath it and hooking everything up. Which I'm probably going to call it a night for tonight. Because I ain't going to lie, I'm beat. But I'll get on it tomorrow and bolt everything up. And of course I gotta put the radiator support back on, because I'm actually changing the radiator supports, and I'm also changing the front end. But it makes it a whole lot easier to set this motor in with the radiator support off. You don't have to, but it is easier. And like I said, I'm changing mine anyway, so. Now the fun part, adding all these little fittings and accessories and stuff in. You can use Teflon tape if you want to. I like to use this liquid thread sealer. Yeah, because we don't want no vacuum leaks. Or water leaks in this case. That ain't good. Apparently, they changed sizes between 1968 and 1974. Because this is the one that come out of my old intake. Dang it. Alright, so what I've devised here to get that heater hose fitting to work, because apparently 2 barrels are a 3/8 fitting and 4 barrels are a 1/2 inch fitting. I went down to the local Ace Hardware. They had these little bushings, which I've ground a little bit off of it, but I'm going to grind a little bit more off of it here in a minute. But first, I'll take a little JB weld. I mean, you can get a regular, because these are MPT pipe threads, which, you know, that's what MPT stands for, National Pipe Thread. But I hate that I've, took all this time trying to make this look pretty to have a big chunk of cast iron fitting sticking up out of the intake manifold. You know what I mean? That kind of looked like a turd in a punch bowl. There we go. Put a little touch-up paint on it, and who will ever know that ever happened or was ever done. See there? Good as new. Now then, before I fire this thing up, they put a new fuel pump on this thing, but I don't know where it come from, and it's probably a El Cheapo, so you know me, Mr. New Old Stock. I went and got a Napa, which, well, it's a Carter, because it's put up a Federal Mogul. Made in Canada. It's a lot better than Korea or somewhere. Now, while we're at it, see this? That is the original voltage regulator from 1974. Still worked. But, just to be safe, you guessed it, New Old Stock. I'm gonna go ahead and swap the regulators while I'm at it. And you see these two spots right here? Ground the paint off to make sure that this regulator grounds, because they will not charge if they're not grounded. I mean, think about it. You can't get shocked if you're not grounded, can you? Well, they won't charge if they're not grounded. I had to change the pulleys on them because this one came with a single groove pulley, or single belt pulley I should say, and the one that was on it was a double belt. I'll have to touch that pulley back up where I painted it. Oh well, it's alright. So, charging system's rebuilt and at a budget. Alright, I got the distributor timed roughly. I brought it up to 10 degrees before top dead center down here in the harmonic balancer, and then on the compression stroke, make sure it's on the compression stroke, otherwise you'll be 180 out. And you can see the number 1 right there on the distributor cap. Okay, well that's pointing right there. And you see I've got it aimed actually just a little past it, which is fine. So we're timed roughly. We're getting close to firing this thing up. Now it's time for the cooling fan. Right there's a stock fan for a 360 Ford. That's plenty for a 360 because they don't make enough power to get hot. Now what we're going to use is the clutch fan. And this can come off of a 460 motorhome. Well, it was an E350 with a 460. The center hole for the water pump shaft on a 460 is 3/4 of an inch. On a 390 it's 5/8. So you can't just directly swap them. Get you a bushing. Now you can directly swap them. It's not pulled any fuel up yet, so I squirted a little bit of carburetor cleaner in the carburetor, but let's see what happens. Oh, she wants to run. Probably hard to hear me. I'm trying to talk into the microphone on the camera, but too hard right off. I got her up, still high, you know, way above idle. Break the cam in. I ain't got a pack on it, but it should be 15, 1800 somewhere in there anyway. So let's break this cam in and we'll see what happens. So far, knock on wood, no leaks, no rattles, nothing. Alright, let's check our timing. We are at 10 degrees before top dead center. That's a pretty good place to start off at. So now let's set our float levels. Alright, let's put some rags down so we don't get no gas on the intake. Shouldn't hurt it, but just to be safe. It's a little too high. So. Well, they laid it through this one. There we go. I like the sound where it just trickles out when I shake it. That's how I do it. The front bowl's good. Check the back bowl. Let's see how hard it is to crank. See if it diesels or rattles or anything and turn it off. Nope. Well, I say we're good. Cranks easy, doesn't diesel or rattle, so now we just need to drive it. But yeah, I've still got to I got to run my vacuum line to the vacuum advance and all that, but a few other odd and end things. But of course, next we're going to change over to DuraSpark. But right now I need to drop the oil and change the oil in the filter on it. So I say this 390 is ready to put on the road. We'll see how she does. But I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure and like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. You know, help me out so I can do more stuff like this. And, you know, help me buy dog food. But I appreciate y'all, each and every one of you. I really mean that. And stay tuned. I'll be back with another one. See you.